Looks like we stayed exactly the same. I was 208.8 yesterday. Today, 208.9. That was only 0.1 pounds. So staying steady and might be dealing with a little bit of a plateau. So if you've been watching all of my videos from the past 2 weeks, you will know that I'm on my journey to lose 40 pounds. And I'm so close. I've only got about 18.9 pounds to go. However, I stepped on the scale this morning and realized I am stuck. I think I'm hitting a plateau, and this is pretty normal, okay? Now, if you have reached a plateau, in this video, I'm gonna give you 3 fat loss hacks that will bust any plateau without exercise, okay? And some of these you may have never even heard of before, all right? Now, before we actually get into it, I really wanna stress that if you're on your own fat loss journey, weight loss journey, you're going to hit a plateau. It's totally normal. And the reason for this is because anytime your body is sensing some deprivation, you know, you're restricting your calories, you're really doing a lot of exercise, you're eating clean, your body's going to be a little bit resistant to that because your body's primary job is to keep you alive. Okay, it's that whole fight or flight system that's going on. And your body simply wants to keep you alive, okay? So we need to somehow outsmart the body, which we can do using these 3 fat loss hacks that are gonna absolutely crush any plateau. I've already done these 3 before, so I know exactly how they work. And I've also coached clients in the past in my Keto Shed 40 program to use these very same techniques that help them lose a lot of weight when they hit a plateau. Because all of my clients have hit a plateau before, okay? My client Jimmy hit a plateau, but then he eventually lost 70 pounds, okay? Ivan, okay, he lost 100 pounds and he went through plateaus as well, okay? So there are many, many ways to break plateaus, but I wanna give you 3 that you can do without exercise. Because a lot of people are gonna tell you like, do more cardio, restrict your calories even more, which by the way, a lot of people make this mistake. They up the cardio and then they start decreasing their calories even more. And here's what I used to tell my clients, because they would say, hey Tim, maybe I just need to cut my calories. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're already in a calorie deficit. What's gonna happen when you get that calorie deficit, you cut more calories, and then you plateau again. And you're like, okay, I'm gonna cut some more calories, and then you plateau again. You see what's gonna happen? If you keep cutting calories, eventually you're gonna back yourself up into a corner and you're gonna have no room to go. Your body is going to absolutely stop losing weight, okay? So you don't wanna keep cutting calories. You don't wanna keep jacking up the cardio. I'm gonna give you 3 fat loss hacks that are absolutely gonna be so much better than doing those things, okay? So the very first thing you can do, let's say you've been doing a keto diet with carnivore, which I've been currently doing for the whole month of January. I've been doing carnivore. I've already lost 23 to 24 pounds just in this month alone, but I can kind of sense my body's hitting that plateau. So if you're aware, carnivore, keto, the foods are very high in fat. Like the ratios for keto is like 75% fat, 20% is protein, and you're only going to get 5% carbohydrates, which basically comes from vegetables, so it's fiber. However, I've been doing carnivore, so I haven't had any veggies. Most of my nutrients are going to be protein and fat. That's absolutely it, okay? So here's what you can do. A lot of people make the mistake when they do carnivore and keto that they're eating all this fat. They're eating a lot of fat, which is okay in the beginning stages. You want to eat a lot of fat because we want to get your body fat adapted. We want to get you in ketosis. Okay, so that's all normal. But at some point on your journey, the other reason why I tell my clients to eat a lot of fat in the beginning, I forgot to mention this, is to get rid of the cravings. If you eat a lot of high fat foods, you'll notice your cravings for carbs and sugars are gonna totally disappear. Okay, so with that aside, okay, there's gonna come a point on your keto or carnivore journey where eating all the fat is gonna cause you to plateau. And here's the reason why, okay? You gotta give your body a reason to lose fat. So if you're pounding a bunch of bacon, eggs, butter, ribeye steaks, well, eventually your body's just gonna stop, okay? We need to give your body a reason to surrender fat. So how do we do that? This is how we're gonna do it. We're gonna do what's called a protein blast. Now, I personally have done this,
and it helped me break that plateau and actually lose quite a bit of weight, okay? So since you've been so used to eating fat, what we're gonna do for 10 solid days is do a protein blast. This is where you're gonna pull all the fat out of your diet and you're gonna eat nothing but lean protein with like a side of veggies, okay? So if you're on like keto, you can add a side of veggies to it. So let me just give you an example, okay? Well, first let me just say this. When you do a 10-day protein blast, what you're gonna notice is your hunger levels are gonna start to increase. Now, when you're eating high fat foods, you're more satiated, therefore you're eating less, it's easier to do fasting, all that kind of stuff. But as soon as you pull fat out of the diet, you're gonna notice your hunger go way up. So what's gonna happen is instead of eating like 1 to 2 meals a day that you've been normally doing, you're probably gonna have to bump it to 3 meals. Okay, so what you could do is you could eat at 12, 3, and 6. I would kind of keep it in that window. So first meal at 12, second meal at 3, third meal at 6. Now, here's what the foods would look like on a plane like that. Let's say you're gonna have lunch, okay? You could have boneless, skinless, or actually it's egg whites. Let's say you have like an egg white omelet with all your favorite veggies like mushrooms and peppers and all that. No fat at all. You can't put butter in the pan. You can't put cheddar cheese on there. It's simply egg whites with veggies. That is it. Or you could have a side of veggies with it, okay? But it's gonna be a big egg white omelet. It may be like a 1 to 2 cups or the whole half carton, all right? So that would be like meal number 1 for 12. Meal number 2, you could have like boneless, skinless chicken breast, tuna, some type of lean fish like tilapia or something like that with a side of veggies. And then meal 3, you do the same thing, all right? So let's just say meal 2, you had chicken breast. Well, then meal 3, you would have fish. Now reverse that. Maybe you had fish in meal 2, so now you're gonna have chicken in meal 3, okay? So you're gonna do this for 10 days, all right? But remember, you're definitely gonna feel hungry because you're pulling the fat out of the diet. So this is why I'm saying you're probably gonna have to go from 1 to 2 meals a day to probably 3 meals, all right? I personally did this for 10 days and dropped 7 pounds, okay? Because in the past, when I did my weight loss back in like 2018, where I lost 70 pounds in 7 months, I'll throw up some pictures, I got absolutely shredded. I went from like 243 to like 173 in a matter of 7 months. However, I would say around like that month 3 or 4, I plateaued for an entire month. I could not figure out what I was doing. I was increasing the cardio, I was cutting calories, none of it worked. When I applied that 10-day protein blast, I dropped 7 pounds like that in 10 days, all right? So that's the very first hack. The second hack that you can try is what's called eTRF. Now that stands for early time restricted feeding. Now let me explain this, okay? Most people, when they do intermittent fasting, what do? They skip breakfast and they have like lunch and dinner, or they're doing OMAD, 1 meal a day, somewhere in the afternoon or in the evening. I want you to reverse that whole thing. And I'll tell you why, okay? If you're skipping breakfast and you're saving all your calories toward the end of the day, well, most likely you're gonna be less active, unless you're like training late at the gym after work. Okay, that's a different scenario. But if you're someone who trains in the morning and the afternoon, you got your workout out of the way, some people like to train before work, does it really make sense to consume all your calories toward the end of the day when you're getting close to sleep, or you're just gonna be sitting on the couch watching TV? That makes no sense. Why would you store all those calories at the end of the day when you're less active, okay? However, if you eat early in the day, I'm talking like the morning hours, like eat between like 8 and 11, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m., okay? Have your meal there and then fast all the rest of the day. So now you're gonna go to bed empty, okay? And you're gonna wake up in the morning and you're gonna eat breakfast again. So instead of skipping breakfast, you're gonna have breakfast but skip lunch and dinner. Or you could still have 2 meals. Maybe you have like breakfast and a really early lunch, or maybe a little late lunch. Like maybe you have like a meal like between like, maybe you have like a meal like at like 9 or 10 a.m., your breakfast, and then maybe eat at 1. But then the rest of the time, do not eat anything. And that goes for no snacking either, okay? This is very effective because Let's say you're someone who trains in the morning and the afternoon. Well, you're going to burn all that off if you're doing what's called eTRF, early time restricted feeding. Because you're burning off all those calories through exercise. You're more active through the day. You know, you're working at your job or taking walks or exercising in the gym. You're going to burn all that stuff off. So when you go to sleep, you're going to wake up empty. Okay, so that's going to be hack number 2. All right. Now, hack number 3 can be a little tricky. Okay, hack number 3, you probably heard about this: cheat days. Now, before I get into it, I don't like to look at it as like a cheat day. I would like to use the word refeed day, because cheat day can almost have like a negative term to it. So I kind of like to use refeed days. Now, let me just explain a little bit about how people do it wrong. Okay, I see a lot of people go on diets, and the first thing that pops in their head is, when do I get my cheat day? That is not the time to have a cheat day when you're looking forward to it. I've had people ask me in the first week, when do I get to cheat? That is not the purpose of a cheat. Okay, the purpose of a cheat is to break a plateau. And I'm going to tell you why cheat meals, if you do it strategically, can break a plateau. So what you're going to do, okay, now I want to say this is probably when you're in like month 2 or month 3. That's typically when people start to see like a little bit of plateau. Maybe even after 6 weeks, you start to see a plateau. You want to establish a foundation first. You want to be eating clean. You haven't cheated at all. You haven't been snacking. You're doing everything right. But then all of a sudden you start noticing you're plateauing. Okay, which, by the way, plateauing is normal. But what this video is designed to teach you is how to bust through the plateau. All right. So let's say you're doing everything right. By month 2, 3, you're just plateauing, nothing's working. So what do? This would be the optimal time to have a refeed meal. Now let me clarify. Refeed meal, not a refeed day. This doesn't mean you get to graze and eat whatever you want all day long. However, I would encourage you to eat whatever you want in one meal. Okay, and I'm going to give you a really good time to do this too. There's a certain time in the day when you want to do this. So what you're going to do, you're going to choose a day on your calendar, and I want you to cheat and have anything you want. So maybe there's something you've been craving for a while. I don't care if it's like pizza, ice cream, hamburgers, french fries, whatever it is, tacos, whatever it is. I want you to have whatever you want, okay? I'm going to tell you a little bit. I'm not going to get too sciencey on you, but I'm going to tell you why this works, okay? But I want you to consume this one meal, okay, not all day. I want you to kind of consume it between 1 and 4 p.m. That's an optimal time. Now, what I would recommend is that you have your refeed meal after you work out. Okay, get a good workout in, wait an hour, and then have your refeed. What I used to do is I would train in the mornings, right? And I would wait about an hour or two. So at like 1 p.m., I would start having my refeed meal. Okay, here's why this works. Anytime you've been dieting for any length of time, there are a couple hormones in your body that get suppressed. Those 2 hormones are called leptin and ghrelin. And just to keep it simple, what those 2 hormones do, they basically send a signal from your brain to your stomach telling you whether you're hungry or you're full. Well, when you've been dieting for a while, sometimes those hormones get imbalanced, okay? They're not really balanced. They kind of get, out of whack. So in order to reset those hormones, you want to have some type of refeed meal, okay? Now, I want to caution you, okay? There's a couple things I want you to be aware of. If you've been really strict for 2 months, here's what's going to happen. You've noticed when you've probably been on keto or some type of intermittent fasting plan or carnivore, you notice you've got more energy, you got more clarity, right? You don't have like those midday crashes, okay? However, when you have a refeed meal, what's going to happen? Because your body hasn't had any carbs or sugars for a couple months, when you start ingesting carbs and sugars again, you're going to go through what I like to call the carb coma. It's almost like having a hangover from drinking too much alcohol. But you're going to have a carb coma. You're going to spike those blood sugars so high. You got to remember, your body hasn't been used to that for 2 or 3 months. Okay, you haven't had to deal with blood sugar fluctuations and insulin spiking and crashing and all that. Pretty much with keto and carnivore, it stays baseline. Okay, so I want you to be aware. You're going to be really sluggish. You're probably going to crash, and honestly, you're going to feel like crap. Okay, I've been there and I've done this. Okay. That's one thing I want you to just be aware of. The second thing you need to be aware of is the very next day after your refeed meal, you need to get right back on track. But what you might notice is that the cravings, there's a possibility they might come back. Okay. So I want you to be aware of that. Sometimes when people eat a really large cheat meal the very next day, what happens is your blood sugars are going to totally drop in the morning. Okay. You gotta remember, when you eat carbs and sugars, you're spiking blood sugars, and then insulin comes out of the pancreas to lower the blood sugars. The problem is when you consume a lot of carbs and sugars, your blood sugars will drop drastically after a few hours. So when you wake up the next morning, you're going to be craving again. Okay, so I want you to be aware of those. It's very, very important to be aware of that. Just kind of keep an eye on how your body's responding. And for whatever reason, don't ever have two to three cheat meals back to back in a week. It says this can only be done once. Okay. And this is going to reset those hormones and leptin levels so you can begin to start losing fat again. All right. So those are the 3 top hacks I have for you. And if you notice, none of it had to do with exercise. That's one of the biggest mistakes people make. They feel like they have to increase their cardio or whatever. But here's the reality. You will lose more weight through nutrition than actually exercise. I want you to think about it. Say you're on the cardio machine or stairs or something like that, and maybe you burned like 400 or 500 calories, right? Well, all it takes is for you to eat something that's like 600, 700, 800 calories. You just wiped out everything. You spent all that time sweating on the stairs for a whole hour, and all you gotta do is go home and eat something and totally blow it, okay? So it's much more easier to lose weight through nutrition than actually increasing exercise, okay? So I hope that makes sense, and I hope that helps you. And the reason why I even did this video to begin with is I actually had somebody in the comments say, hey, what do you do if you deal with a plateau? And I thought, that's a great idea. I've been there, I've done that, and these are the 3 fat loss hacks that I personally have used where I have seen amazing results to bust through that plateau. Now, just remember, everybody goes through a plateau. It's totally normal. You will get through it. But just remember, a lot of people quit because they hit a plateau. They think that what I'm doing ain't working, so what's the use? But remember, the weight is not the only measurement of progress. Is your waistline shrinking? Are you increasing energy? Are you more focused? Are you, no longer having sleep apnea issues? I mean, those are all forms of progress. Don't be so tied to the scale. Look, I'm guilty of it just as much as you. You want to see that scale keep going down. But be patient, stick with it. I promise you, it will work out for you in the end if you don't quit, all right? So I just wanted to address that in this video. I'm still continuing my journey to lose 40 pounds. I want you to, follow my journey. Take the tips that I'm giving you and apply it to your own weight loss journey. I'm telling you, you're going to be so excited by the time spring and summer comes. People aren't going to recognize you. I can promise you that if you stick with it. All right. So that's all I got. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Drop me a comment below if you felt like this video was very beneficial for you, and let me know if there's any more content that you want me to talk about so I can continue to help you on your own weight loss journey.